The firm was changing, slowly but surely, and she could feel the shift in the air. It wasn't just about David Preston anymore, it was about what came after him. About building something stronger, fairer, more resilient. The morning sun cast golden light across her desk, illuminating the framed photo of her team, the people who had stood shoulder to shoulder with her through the chaos. Jenna's fiery determination, Marcus's quiet brilliance, Linda's unshakable moral compass, they had all played their part in this victory. And though the road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, Alicia knew they were ready. Her phone buzzed on the desk, pulling her from her thoughts. A message from Thomas, first round of promotions under the new system announced today. Thought you'd want to know. She opened the attached document and scanned the names. For the first time in years, the list felt balanced, not skewed by favoritism or manipulation, but shaped by merit and hard work. A small smile tugged at the corners of her lips. This was progress. Imperfect, perhaps, but real. As she turned back to the window, Alicia allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. The fight hadn't been easy, and there were scars, both visible and invisible, that would take time to heal. But they had done it. They had dismantled the old machine, piece by piece, and now they were laying the foundation for something better. The city stretched out before her, alive with possibility. Somewhere out there, David Preston was likely plotting his next move, chasing another opportunity to rebuild his empire. But here, within these walls, his influence was gone. Erased. Replaced by a new standard, one built not on fear or control, but on fairness and accountability. Alicia took a deep breath, feeling the calm certainty of purpose settle over her. The battle might be over, but the war for justice, for true equality, was far from won. And she intended to see it through. With renewed resolve, she stepped away from the window and sat down at her desk. There was work to do. The plaque on her door now read Alicia King, partner, a title she had spent years striving to achieve. Yet, the journey had been nothing like she imagined. The office was still quiet, save for the distant hum of the city beyond the glass walls. Her promotion had come with little fanfare, a stark contrast to the relentless tension and uncertainty that had weighed on her for so long. There were no parades or grand celebrations, it was simply another step forward. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Jenna stood there, leaning casually against the frame with a small smile. "Nice office," Jenna said, stepping inside. "It fits you." Alicia chuckled softly, running a hand along the edge of her desk. "I'm still getting used to it. It doesn't quite feel real yet." Jenna dropped into one of the chairs opposite the desk. "I know what you mean. After everything we've been through, it feels like the dust should have settled by now. But it still feels weird." Alicia nodded, settling into her seat. "Yeah, we won. But it doesn't feel like we're done." "That's because we're not," Jenna replied, her tone growing more serious. "The system is changing, but we have to make sure it stays that way. There's still a lot of work ahead." Alicia smiled faintly. "I know. It's just strange. I thought making partner would feel like the end of the journey, like everything would finally be perfect. But now that I'm here, I see how much more there is to do." Jenna leaned back, crossing her arms. "That's because you're not the kind of person who stops when she gets what she wants. You didn't fight for this just for yourself, Alicia. You fought for all of us." Alicia looked down, letting Jenna's words sink in. She was right. This wasn't just about her promotion. The real victory lay in the changes they had forced within the firm, the independent oversight committees, the new criteria for promotions, the dismantling of outdated, biased systems. But it was hard not to think about how long it had taken, how much resistance they'd faced along the way. "It feels like there's still so much we have to watch over," Alicia admitted. "Like the system is fragile, and if we don't stay vigilant, it'll slip back into the same old patterns." Jenna nodded. It is fragile. But we've built something better, and that's what matters. We've shown that the old way isn't the only way. Alicia met Jenna's gaze, drawing strength from her friend's steady confidence. We did. And we'll keep pushing, making sure it sticks. Jenna grinned. And now you get to do it with partner on your door. Alicia laughed, shaking her head. I guess so. It's still weird seeing that. Get used to it, Jenna said, standing up and giving Alicia's desk a light tap. You earned it. Later that afternoon, Thomas Green stopped by Alicia's office for a quick word. He was as composed as ever, though there was a subtle shift in how he spoke to her now, more measured, perhaps even a little cautious. The balance of power had shifted, and Alicia could feel it. I just wanted to check in, see how you're settling into the new role, Thomas said, standing just inside her door. Everything's good so far, Alicia replied politely. I'm getting my feet under me. Thomas nodded, his eyes briefly scanning the room before returning to her. Good to hear. I also wanted to let you know that we're moving forward with the recommendations Monica Liu outlined. The independent oversight will be in place next quarter. That's good, Alicia responded, her tone professional. It's important that those changes are implemented. Thomas's expression tightened slightly, but he nodded. I agree. It'll be an adjustment for everyone, but it's necessary. As he left, Alicia sat back in her chair, reflecting on the conversation. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she knew one thing for certain: the fight wasn't over, it had only just begun. The air between them hung heavy, dense with the unspoken weight of what had just unfolded. Thomas wasn't a man who wore his emotions on his sleeve, but Alicia could feel the tension radiating from him. He knew, the firm had been forced to confront the shadows it had long buried, and Alicia had been the spark that lit the fire. Thank you, Alicia said, breaking the silence that had settled like a fragile pane of glass. For listening. For acting. Thomas gave a slight nod, the subtlest flicker of relief crossing his features now that the conversation hadn't escalated into conflict. You were right to push for this, he admitted, his voice steady. The firm will be stronger because of it, in time. As Thomas left her office, Alicia leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. It still felt surreal hearing those words from someone like him. For so long, it had seemed as though the firm's leadership was an immovable wall, resistant to change, determined to cling to outdated ways. But now, they'd been cornered into admitting the truth: the old system no longer held water. That evening, Alicia met Jenna, Marcus, and Linda at their favorite cafe, a quiet celebration among allies who had weathered the storm together. The atmosphere was lighter than it had been in months, tinged with a sense of closure, even though they all knew the work wasn't over yet. Well, Marcus began, raising his coffee cup in a mock toast as Alicia slid into her seat. How's the view from the top? Alicia laughed, rolling her eyes. I'm still getting used to it. Trust me, it's not as glamorous as it sounds. Maybe not, Linda chimed in, her smile warm and genuine, but you deserve every bit of it. All of us do. Jenna lifted her cup, her eyes sparkling with mischief. To breaking barriers, and making sure they stay broken. Their cups clinked softly, a small gesture, but one loaded with meaning. It was a recognition of the battles they'd fought side by side, the victories they'd clawed their way toward. So, Linda asked, leaning back in her chair, what's next for us? Now that we've won? Alicia glanced around the table, taking in the faces of her friends, her partners in this fight. A slow smile spread across her face. We keep going. We make sure the system works the way it's supposed to. And we don't let anyone forget why we started this in the first place. Marcus nodded firmly. And if anyone tries to pull the same tired tricks again, we'll be there to shut them down. Exactly, Jenna added, her tone resolute. This is just the beginning. For a moment, Alicia sat quietly, letting the enormity of everything they'd achieved settle over her. There was still more to do, more challenges ahead, more walls to dismantle, but for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope. They'd shattered the glass ceiling, yes, but now they were building something new. Something stronger. Something fairer. As they sat together, talking and laughing, Alicia knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And this time, nothing, and no one, would stand in their way.